Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories now. Nigeria's Minister of Defense says that efforts to rescue 110 abducted Dapchi schoolgirls continues. Says security operatives are closing in on the abductors. Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives insist on appropriate response to President Buhari's veto of Electoral Amendment Bill. Dismissed reports of disagreement between them on the matter. 4 months after he emerged winner in the Anambra State governorship election, Governor Willie Obiano takes oath of office for a second term. And diplomatic row over the nerve agent attack on an ex-spy deepens as Russia is set to expel 23 British diplomats in retaliation over UK's expulsion of 23 Russian envoys. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on the go on your mobile device via your browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from your respective stores. Besides giving you access to news and updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature for you to use to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. The Lagos State government has announced the closure of the Olusosun dump site following the outbreak of fire earlier in the week. The state government cited health and environmental hazards for the decision, adding that the facility was no longer healthy for trading activities and residents living in the neighborhood. The fire, which is believed to have been caused by combustion, destroyed goods and property worth millions of naira. An update on the fire incident is captured in this report.
Visibility is still a challenge for motorists who ply Ojota and the Ikoseketu axis, two communities mostly affected by the fire at the Olusosun dump site in Ojota. More than half of the 76 hectares of dump site is still covered by smoke 4 days after the Inferno, making it uneasy for passers-by and residents to breathe. Although the fire has been contained to a large extent, some parts are still smoldering. On one end, firemen are seen at work. Clearly, the fire consumed everything on its path. Over 10 vehicles, including buses and evacuation trucks, as well as goods stored in warehouses, are destroyed. Surprisingly, in the thick of the smoke, some people still find it comfortable rummaging the waste, especially in areas where the fire did not get to. It's not an unusual occurrence for those who work here, although none of them imagined its size. They say it's not man-made. The fire is believed to have been caused by combustion released from trapped gases from the waste. 48 hours after the fire outbreak, Governor Akinwumi Ambode visits the site to see the level of damage.
You see, what happened here is not as if anybody put fire there. It is the refuse that are dumped there, as well as the gas coming from under the ground, and the hot sun, which was around 36 to 38 degrees, that caused the fire. We thank God nothing bad happens to those living there and around the neighborhood. What we have decided now is that there will be no dumping of refuse here any longer.
Shortly after his visit, the Commissioner for Information and Strategy announces the closure of the dump site while the government investigates the cause of the fire.
A second visit by Governor Ambode led to the decision to shut the site to protect the people in the environment and ensure their health and safety.
The Ekpe landfill is one of the 2 dump sites now working in Lagos. It's much bigger than the Olusosun dump site. The management of the facility is already working to forestall any future fire outbreak.
Fundamentally, what we're creating here is what we call a landfill eco-park. And what that means is the garbage that will be coming in from the Lagos State will be coming here and treated prior to being implemented within the landfill in what we call engineered cells. Now, what engineered cells mean? It means that the waste is contained in an area that's engineered to capture the leachate and the methane gas. And these systems alleviate any accidents, unfortunately, like the fire that we saw last week at Osherslew. So the system that we put in place here will minimise the risk of that ever happening here.
While the action taken by the state government may be commendable, it's been criticised for not envisaging and dealing with issues beforehand. Hopefully, this may be the last of such occurrences.
To discuss more on this issue, I'm now being joined by an environmentalist and a waste management expert, Mr. Lugbenga Adebola. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10. Let's begin from that report we just listened to now. Methane gas, yes, I understand, is in the heart of this whole issue of the ignition of that dump site in Olushosu. But how do we have that situation where methane gas and temperatures above 30 degrees will ignite?
Well, unfortunately, it is what you could call the management factor. If you have a dump site that is not being managed based on international best practices, then you're going to have all this kind of an issue. A dump site or a landfill site that you're supposed to dump waste is actually supposed to have a liner that will prevent the percolation of the leachate. That will also, you have pipings that will collect even the leachate itself, and also the biogas. One of it is actually methane and the carbon dioxide. All these greenhouse gases, or as you could call it, the biogas, could actually be channeled to generate electricity. But unfortunately, at a dump site like Ojota or Olushosu, the waste are just being dumped indiscriminately, and it was not being well managed. Of course, before now, it was being at least haphazardly managed and prevent, this kind of an occurrence. But never in the history of Olushosu or the dump site, Olushosu dump site, that we have actually seen the magnitude of this Inferno that we saw, a couple of days ago. And it may even surprise you that after it was worked on by the firefighters, this afternoon, it has reignited. Because the methane is just freely there.
No, we have the rains. My apologies. Let me just interject here. We have the rains coming. It's almost threatened to rain even yesterday or today in Lagos.
Yeah.
But that didn't come through. With the coming of the rains, will it kill off the fire?
It could suppress the fire, but not totally. Because the methane gas is highly potent. It's highly flammable. It's like you are trying to suppress fire when you have a gas leakage, because it is purely gas.
What can residents of that area do?
Well, for now, the residents in that area probably they have to evacuate. I really don't know. I sympathize with them. It is indeed a disaster waiting, and I want to tell you, on the 20th of February, I tweeted about that dump site when we had a collapsed dump site in Maputo, in Mozambique. And I said Lagos should also watch out that there could be a disaster at that dump site. Now, unfortunately, when that dump site was actually created, it was at the outskirts of the city. Now, the city actually came to meet the dump site there. And I tell you, that is not even a problem if you ask me. But if the dump site is actually managed in the best practice that is internationally acceptable, people can live around there. Our leaders do travel out of the country to see even landfill sites, waste conversion facilities that are within the city. But because they are properly managed, it's not going to harm anybody. But what we have actually in there is a major disaster, because you have a whole lot of pollution going on there. You have the water pollution, you have the air pollution, and then you have the soil pollution. Now, sometimes ago, all the water aquifers around the Ikeja are currently being polluted by that dump site. Currently, people are not even taking water. The first aquifer is polluted, the second aquifer is polluted, and the third aquifer is, so it is the percolation, and this is the function of the leachate. And what is a leachate? Leachate is a very toxic, highly toxic substance that is generated when domestic waste or waste, as it were, is decomposing, and then it is added with the rainwater, and then you have a very potent toxic liquid material which actually percolate into the underground water and begin to pollute, the entire environment. That is for water pollution. If you talk about the soil is completely polluted.
What steps do you think the Lagos State government, especially the Ministry of Environment, should be taking now that it has closed down the Ojota dump site? What should it be doing?
Honestly, I want to tell you, the step that should be taken should be looked at from the point at the holistic level. You can't isolate Olusosun dump site from the myriad of problems that Lagos is facing, as far as waste management is concerned. And I would say that the Lagos State government, ministry or whoever, CLI, which is the Cleaner Lagos Initiative, should try, first of all, maybe they need to do some remediation. But that is the remediation of the site. But it goes beyond that. What happens to the collection? If waste are collected, where are they going to dump it? Now I want to tell you something. You can collect waste from the metropolis of Lagos and then begin to travel to Ekpe or travel to Ikorodu to go and dump it. It is going to have a ripple effect, especially maybe for whatever people are going to pay and all that and all that. I would rather advise the state government that with this occurrence, I think it is high time for the Lagos State government to actually sit down with the experts to begin to look at what can be done. And there are so many things that can be done, even from the level of the collection. Before now, we have had a seemingly perfect, and I use a seemingly for a reason, perfect waste collection system in Lagos State. And in fact, the plan was to start from, because you need to look at where we're coming from in Lagos State. Lagos was one of the dirtiest states in the whole world, after we had the First Act 77. And that was what led to the establishment of Loma, as it were, at that time. And with the involvement of the private sector, which you call the PSP, especially after we returned to the democracy, Lagos was cleaned by the effort of these so-called PSP operators. Now, a new regime came and just felt that what the PSP operators are doing is not good enough. Even if it's not good enough, you need to just sit down and see areas where you can improve upon. You don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. And that's what exactly the Lagos State government had done by trying to push away all the PSP operators and bring in, a so-called foreign company. And I don't want to go into whether they have the capacity or whether they have the expertise even to clean it. All over the world, by my experience and my training and my exposure, I know that waste management, requires some level of peculiarities. Every area have a peculiarity. There is no fix-it-all solution to waste management. It may surprise you to know that what is even obtainable in Ikeja may not practically work in another area that is called Ajangbadi. So you need to take into cognizance the local peculiarities. So for any international, whatever they are, to come, I think it is better for the Lagos State government to go back to the drawing board.
That'll be a good place to end it. I want to thank you so much indeed for talking to us here on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Environmentalist and a waste management expert, Mr. Olugbenga Adebola. Many thanks indeed.
Thank you very much.
When the News at 10 returns, S&P Global Ratings affirms long and short-term foreign credit ratings of Nigeria at BB. Join us again.